Well, it's happened. Andor has come to an end in a very big way, and a very spectacular way as well. Everything and every part of the show is building up to this. The fact that we have, quite possibly, pretty much the fact that it all started on Ferrix and it all ended on Ferrix. I think's the answer. It all started there because the fact of Colonel Khan and his plucky sergeant got themselves into trouble by causing the problem, by making the Empire move in, because of the fact they bungled it. The Imperial Supervisor got wind of this, through that, trying to track a stolen part, and the part got away, and they're all after Andor. Andor got his way off Ferrix, and then worked his way back there. It's all come together very, very neatly, in a very, very nice way. I suppose first thing, of course, the thing is the fact of the fascinating idea of the fact of the Ferrix funeral service, the way they do it. I mentioned in the last episode the fact they turn you into a brick, and then you become part of the Ferrix city. Just like the other laid as a foundation stone in a building, you're particularly important, or just added to the brickwork of some building somewhere. Always a part of the landscape around them, as buildings lasted much longer than people, apparently. Also is the fact that the Ferrix people are actually surprisingly well cultured, and have some traditions, like for example, when shift change and everything else, they hit an anvil. Someone climbs up a tower to hit an anvil. In other words, they take great pride in their industrious nature. And they are very, very proud of that. Also the fact that they just kept on building, and they just wanted to be left alone to build things. Such as the way of a people. The other thing I think I found particularly good about the episode, I think, was just how the fact the Empire planned to allow a small ceremony to take part, but then half the town showed up. But also for a fact that the Empire is still, at this round about this sort of time, is sort of in between operational mandates. Their initial response to the riot is non-lethal, namely, basically, stun batons and riot shields. But then, of course, later on, they resort to live fire, as the situation becomes out of control and someone throws in a bomb. That was rather interesting, because the fact that the Empire would eventually sort of suppress what I think with live fire, both in Legends and in canon, whereas now, at this point in the story, they preferred non-lethal methods, as non-lethal methods look far better in terms of public support. Another interesting detail I found about the whole episode was the fact that Luther and Ral, I finally figured out his name, and Andor, in actual fact, were trying to... Pretty much he went to kill Andor because Andor knew too much, but Andor has other plans. I think the other details are the fact that, Andor's mother is actually surprisingly well revered in the community. She isn't just some old woman who just died. She actually was quite revered and quite well respected amongst many of the people, at least in that city. But it's also the thing of fact, I learned some details about our villain. Deirdre Miro is actual fact quite obsessive about action. In the episode, she goes into action. She returns to Ferrix because she wants to catch Andor herself, and she wants to personally supervise his capture. Or perhaps capture himself. And then when the shooting starts, she goes into action, drawing her blaster and then trying to join her comrades in battle. When in reality, she pretty much, but of course she doesn't have any armour or even a helmet, she gets struck down relatively quickly. Another fascinating detail, I think, is the fact that Cyril Khan and Deirdre sort of are a bit off and on each other. And the fact that, Cyril Khan's former sergeant is still drinking. The other thing I think is the fact that everything is coming together there. Andor goes in for the rescue, as he does, the idiot. And of course, quite possibly the fact that one of Deirdre's plans is to either use the death of his mother as bait, but also maybe she neither anticipated or thought the fact he might try and rescue the friend that he held captive. And Andor does do that, taking advantage of the chaos to actually pull off the rescue. But it's also, I think, this is the transition point between where the Empire becomes full crackdown. Andari was the start of this action, and Andor and Ferrix was probably like the cornucopia of it. They're both battling against each other just to get what they want. And now the Empire's going to go full hard down. Nothing is probably going to be permitted. No public gatherings, no, like if anything. I think the other thing is the fact that Mon Mothma knows the fact she's screwed. And so what does she decide to do? Well, she decides to marry off her own daughter to another Shrendran family that's quite wealthy. This will give her access to a lot more money, allowing her to further support the rebellion. Finally, and probably one of the best moments of the whole episode, I think it's just how everything's come together. Mon Mothma knows for a fact this is going to require a lot more hard decisions as time goes by, something that she's not quite willing to do. Luthien Rahl is now laying the foundations of the Rebel Alliance, and probably one of his best operatives, in the form of Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor wants off, Ferrex in the other worlds, and Andor is about to go off and do somewhere else. His friends leave Ferrex for some part unknown, and Andor is going to go somewhere else and do the job he must. Andor has probably been the best one out of yet, in terms of live action. It's been very well rounded and well thought out. The plot line has been constant. Each episode has sort of been basically been like 3 miniseries condensed into one. And then like the last 3 have been sort of semi-standalone adventures, but they've still followed on, building up to a climax and then winding down from that and then building up to the next climax. The final bit the bit I liked best about the whole show was the fact that now the Empire is now well and truly in trouble. The Imperial Security Bureau has come to the conclusion it's time to really start clamping down. There's going to be a lot more agents in the field, and quite possibly I think they're going to be sending in trade field agents from this point on, building on from what happened in Rebels with Agent Callus. There's also the fact I think the Imperial Security Bureau is going to be taking a far more active role in battle plans and operations from this point forward, annoying quite possibly a lot of the Admiralty and Army staff, who don't exactly want a bunch of desk-loving bureaucrats running their operations, especially given the fact they could be, as we know for a fact in other Star Wars shows, that the Empire is fighting long campaigns elsewhere, around about the same time, or before. So naturally, of course, that's not exactly the kind of place where you want intelligence operatives to work. This is in the trenches. The only way to win there is to literally beat your enemy, and that requires a lot of time and a lot of careful planning and skill, not to be told by a supervisor how to run your operations. I think the other thing is just the fact that it's all finished. And the fact that one of Deirdre's colleagues actually has an eye on Mon Mothma, but because she's an Imperial Senator, he's not sure how to best go after her. So he's resorting to rumours and problems to cause her trouble. In other words, he has his suspicions about Mon Mothma, but because she's well connected and quite powerful, he can't easily do it openly, so he has to rely to more subtle means. In other words, destroy her career, rather than resorting to brute force. That was a fascinating detail as well. Small detail, but fascinating. I can't wait for the next season, if it comes out, and I also can't wait to see how other shows are going to link to this. Especially Bad Batch Season 2, which may, of course, contain details which link the 2 shows together. I can hardly wait, and I wish there was more to see. I've been the Universal Challenger, asking you to please share, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheerio!